AEW returns to the Sears Center in Hoffman Estates on Wednesday, November 27th, 7 o'clock on AEW Dynamite. That's on TNT, every single Wednesday on TNT. Jon Moxley joins us here as AEW comes back, really, I think, to the home of AEW Chicago, because AEW has been here so often, and Jon joins me here on Tuesday, Wrestling Tuesday. Jonathan Hood, thanks so much for your time.
Anytime, man. Thank you.
Hey, how's life for you? How's life right now?
It's pretty good, man. I'm pretty busy, and I haven't been home much. I had a bunch of different projects and stuff to do. Just finished the movie. Finally, it took me a long time to get done. Was home for a second, turned right back around, and back out on the road today doing a bunch of media, and then a big show tomorrow night at the Sears Center in Chicago. So it's busy.
Tell me about the movie, because I looked back at your video that you had, that, before you came to AEW, the video you put out that went viral, which was awesome. Haven't seen a vignette or a video like that in such a long time. And it showed me, like, okay, Jon's got some chops here that he could be in movies. So you just finished one up. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
It's called, it's a fighting movie. It's called Cage Fighter. It's pretty cool. Chuck Liddell's in it, which is pretty dope for me. A couple other big names. Gina Gershon, very classy. But as a fighting movie, I'm kind of the antagonist in the movie, and it was my part is mostly fight scenes and a bunch of fight choreography and a bunch of ad-lib screaming pro wrestling promos. So it was a lot of a real physical job, actually. The last trip up there, we were filming in Regina, Canada, and it's a cold soundstage, and so you're in your underwear and your bare feet in a cold soundstage doing take after take and taking these, like, we didn't have stunt guys, we were taking all these falls and hits, and we kind of all, me and the director and my opponent all kind of put this, kind of collaborate on the choreography and stuff, and so it was really fun. That's one of the funner parts about doing movies is, doing the Jet Li, Jackie Chan stuff, and doing getting to fight bad guys and put superhero and stuff. But this is like more realistic fighting, so it was pretty cool. It was pretty fun. But after 4 days of being in this cold soundstage, and after every take they spray you down with water to make you look sweaty, and then you're covered in fake blood, so you, at the end of it, you're like this giant freezing cold cherry Jolly Rancher.
So ultimately, you were you. You didn't. I mean, that's not acting. That was just you being you. You just got paid for it.
Yeah, exactly. This was kind of actually Christian from WWE actually threw that in my lap. They were just looking for somebody. I was like the perfect guy for this particular project. Or like if stuff comes along for me like that, that's just like, oh, that's perfect for me. It looks like fun, and I'll do it.
What about the vignette that you were in, as you were coming into AEW? Who produced that, and what was the thought behind that?
The one I put out?
Yes.
That was a guy named Matt Burns, who's actually my partner on another film project we're doing now. But he was known to wrestling fans as Sick Nick Mondo, retired, actually something of a deathmatch legend. One of the nicest, most down-to-earth guys you'll ever meet, but you would never expect him to have been involved in the most insane matches you've ever seen in your life. But I knew him just from acquaintances through that world, and he was a filmmaker and lived in Japan for a long time, and he was in LA, so when I needed kind of help with the technology portion of that idea, I turned to him, and it really paid off. We spared no expense, and I think that was, it was like, because I had this idea of like, all right, I'm going to switch over to the Twitter and everything, right? I had to figure out how to work the freaking thing, first of all, and I was like, I'm going to drop that exactly midnight on the day my contract ends, and then I knew I was going to have a few weeks at least to just be disappeared and not appear anywhere. So I was like, this is going to be cool, because people wonder, like, is he going to show up at AEW? Is he going to show up at Impact? Is he going to show up at Ring of Honor? Is he just going to pop back up in WWE or Japan? Like, we don't know where the fuck he's going to show up. So it was cool. cool because there's all that speculation, and then the kind of the payoff for the video to me was appearing at Double or Nothing.
Yeah.
And everybody knew exactly who I was, what I was doing. They were chanting Moxley. They knew what was going on. It was like a new chapter started. It was kind of like Double or Nothing. That video kind of built up the appearance of Double or Nothing.
AllEliteWrestling.
Just kind of worked out, you know?
Yeah, so question. AllEliteWrestling.com is where you get tickets for AEW events. Jon Moxley joins me, Jonathan Hood, on Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday on ESPN 1000 and the ESPN app. How much has your life changed, John, today versus several years ago? Because it's well documented on interviews that you've done, your frustrations you had creatively. So how do you feel now versus even just a couple of years ago?
I feel pretty good right now. I mean, regardless of where you are or what you're doing, like really life doesn't feel that much different, doing TV every week, wrestling a bunch, traveling a bunch, doing media interviews like this all day, just like you used to, you know what I mean? But it's a little different. And you change and grow, and your life kind of changes, your perspective changes as your career goes along and you get more experience, and as you get more experience in life and get older and come to different impasses and places in your life, so it's like I definitely feel a lot different than I did even a couple of years ago. And cool. On the wrestling side of it, there's just a lot less frustration because in WWE and I don't want to harp on anything negative there or anything like that, but you're not as in control of your own self sometimes. You get these. Now, if I have an idea, I can pretty much just do any idea that comes to mind. And other people's ideas are so much more creative and I'm like, that's cool. I never even thought about that. We could do that. That's awesome because nobody here is trapped in any kind of formula or system or has any fear of consequences or reprisals from any sponsors or networks. Not that we're going to go out on TV and do anything that's going to get us kicked off TNT, but nobody's worried about any criticism. Nobody's worried about like, if the Young Bucks want to do 500 super kicks in a match, they're going to do it, and they don't give a damn what anybody thinks because it's awesome. They know if it works or not. Just people have an idea. Darby Allin wants to come out in a body bag and get crowd surf through the arena. Like, cool, we're going to do it. Like, everybody's just so creatively unencumbered right now. Is unencumbered a word?
It is.
I hope that's a better word. Okay.
It is. You picked it up somewhere, but yes, uncovered is a word.
I'm
Yes.
doing second coffee today. My brain's not functioning at full speed.
You're doing fine. Jon Moxley with Jonathan Hood on ESPN 1000, the ESPN app. Your fight with Kenny Omega, and Omega fans are not going to like this, and I don't really give a shit, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'll say this before history says it. I think that you made Omega in a certain way at Full Gear, and here's why. Is because you've seen Omega, you've taken on Omega, this New Japan superstar comes to the AEW, and he wasn't used. I hadn't seen him in fights like that. And then for what you guys did, you put him in a whole different light than he's ever been. Classically trained wrestler, all these hand gestures and everything else, and he's known for that. But he wasn't known for the fight that you two had. How do you see that fight you had with Omega?
I was thrilled with it. Totally thrilled with it. Whether me and him are no matter what kind of match me and him are in, it's an interesting dynamic because he's kind of known for as being kind of, maybe you could compare it to classical music. Mm-hmm. Long, beautiful, graceful, detailed, beautiful music. The 60-minute matches and so forth he's known for. I'm like thrash metal at my best. In your face, 3 minutes, it's ugly, we don't even know what just happened. I'm punch kicking, whatever. So it's like combining, thrash metal and classical music. And then that kind of took on a life of its own. I loved it. I had so much fun. I love the uneasiness in the air. I love the feeling of people going like, no,
Right.
I love when you can take them right to the edge where they're like, oh my God, I don't even think I can watch this anymore. And then just take it like one teeny mini step further. So, and then that's it. You know, I was thrilled with it, especially because like it's so satisfying to be able to like to shock people in 2019 or do something that's different. That's the thing is like it's something that was finally different. Like when you watch a pay-per-view for the last however many years, you pretty much know what you're going to get, even though the matches are going to be good and it's going to be good and you know you get your money's worth or whatever. But it's like, is it going to be anything different than you've really seen? And I think that's a big part of that's the whole point of AEW is an alternative. We're like trying to do something different, put something different in the marketplace. I heard a quote the other day from I read from Josh Homme from Queens of Stone Age. He was talking about how he puts together music.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, tell me what we don't need, and I'll start there. Like, tell me what's not represented, what's missing, what nobody's created yet, and let's fill the gaps. You know, I'm like, I kind of like that mentality. You know, I've just been thinking about that for 24 hours or so. But yeah, MS is funny because like, it's not like I would never have thought that we would be able to do that level of stuff in AEW when I first came here. So, like, when these ideas started getting bandied about, I'm like, really? We can do that? All right.
Right.
So I'm your guy. Like, and then, I remember singing the night before, you know, thinking about it, putting together, and I was starting to think, like, I'm like, Jesus Christ. This is like a borderline. This is going to be like a borderline death match.
Right.
And then I was thinking about it, I was like, a lot of people are going to hate this, but this is going to be awesome. Like, this match is going to rule.
There's two sides to you. Wait a minute, John.
We're trying to have like the greatest hardcore match of all time. This is awesome, you know. And like, if that's what your goal is, you know, to have the best match in that genre's. Yeah, I put that up against anything from ECW, Big Fans, FMW, whatever, you know, WWE, WCW, whatever. As far as like a hardcore match goes, I put that up against anything. Personally, you know, we painted the painting we wanted to paint as we intended to paint it.
There's two sides. It's two sides to your brain with this, though, John. It's like people are going to hate this, but I'm going to love it. And you're going back and forth, and you're trying to weigh both, and you're just like, you know, we're going to do it anyway. And that's what it ultimately comes down to what you want and what you and Kenny want, right?
Make the music. Make the music you want to make. You know, you can't, like, as a performer, as an artist, and, you know, even more so as the athlete who's putting your body on the line. You can't worry about somebody going like, oh, it's stupid, garbage wrestling, or whatever, because we knew it wasn't going to be. You know, I loved it. I was thrilled with it. And most people were, the response I got from, you know, people, you know, afterward, you know, was just, I was like, yeah, I knew he hit a home run.
What's that phone call, that text message like from Renee after the match?
Oh, she's fine. She's just being a little, you know, hey, if you're married to me, you know, you're gonna have moments like that. I promise you, I'm not trying to get hurt, ever.
Right.
I'm not trying to.
But you saw her on Twitter, right? She was concerned, like all of us, about the match.
Oh, everybody was coming up to me with that afterward. I talked to her ass out. I was like, shit. When she did, she's like, I'm like, it's all good.
Okay. Well, AllEliteWrestling.com is where you get your tickets. Jon Moxley joins me, Jonathan Hood, as AEW returns really to the home of AEW, the Sears Center in Hoffman Estates, Wednesday, November 27th. You can also watch on TNT AEW Dynamite every single Wednesday on TNT. I want to know about your time in New Japan, because when you first got there, again, just like being at AEW, it's this big splash, and you come out and people are excited for you to be in New Japan. What's that like to perform in front of that audience and that style of wrestling for you?
I love Japan. I think most people that go over there regularly love Japan. You know, Kenny's going back to Japan now. He's wrestling for DT. The fans love wrestling over there because the fans are just different energy than this is apples and oranges to wrestling in the United States, which are both great. But there's just something about the difference. You know, it's more of a sporting atmosphere. You know, that's just hard to describe in words. But I love wrestling in Japan. You know, Sumo Hall, Korakuen Hall, two of my favorite buildings to wrestle in. Just the atmosphere is just incredible. I never wrestled in Korakuen Hall, even though, you know, that's everybody runs there and everybody talks about it. I hadn't had a chance yet. And then first time I wrestled there, I was like, oh, I think this might be my new favorite building. It's small, but it's got kind of an ECW arena atmosphere when it's full and people are going nuts. And it's got that history, you know. I love the style of matches over there. It's the physicality, that it's just sports, not entertainment. That you can kind of do it. You can kind of just wrestle. You know, you don't have to worry about, you know, the wave starting or anything like that. Like if you want to grab a hold or submission, you know, you can work different styles in one match. You know, it's just, and you know, Kenny described this, and he's right. They really pay attention to little details in storytelling, and if the people are willing to really pay attention to the little details, then you can give them a more detailed thing, and it makes the match better. It tells them even more of a story, you know? So there's just a lot of reasons why I love it over there. A lot of great talent over there, so that I'll probably continue to wrestle there probably as long as I'm wrestling.
How often do you get calls from your former employer, from friends that you have in the business that see what you're doing with New Japan, see what you're doing with AEW, and say, man, I wish I could do what you're doing right now?
Not really at all, honestly. Yeah, you know, kind of like you get in the bubble, and you're kind of in the bubble, and you just, I don't know. So it's really easy to like kind of lose touch with people. But it's, you know, it's just how it is. You're busy, I'm busy. You know, I'll watch. I pay attention to what's going on because my wife is doing the show and stuff. So, you know, I watch her. So.
But nobody's reaching out and saying, hey, good job, or I really enjoy your match.
Oh, yeah, a little bit here and there, you know. Totally.
What the direction of AEW, John, I want to know, has there been a long-term vision told to you about what Tony Khan and how he envisions the company moving forward?
I think it's a lot of week to week right now, just a lot of, like, putting on good wrestling. And right now, like, every single style has kind of been represented on the show or on pay-per-views at some point. We're letting everybody kind of be themselves and do their own thing, and so it's a real variety show kind of thing right now. And I think over time, we'll kind of get more of a singular identity naturally as a company, whatever that's going to be. But right now it's cool because it's just like kind of flying by the seat of our pants as far as like some stuff can change on the fly in order to prove it. But a lot of the good thing that's making this good is just like real simple, effective booking laid out ahead of time. And there are long-term plans, and there are little tiny details and seeds being planted already for stuff that you're not even going to find out about until 6 months later, and then you look back and go, oh. And I think that, and right now we've only 8 weeks in. You know, if you don't count like the first couple pay-per-views and stuff. If you kind of look at it like as a TV product, say you tuned in on TNT for the first time to check out this new thing on October 2nd. We've been around, what, like 7-8 weeks?
Right.
So it's like we're so new that it's interesting to see, like, it's kind of like a newborn baby. Like, you know, their hair could change color. Yeah, you know, who knows? They could be tall, short, we don't even know yet.
What is there?
Not trying to, like, the big thing here is, like, we're not trying to get it, like, we're not trying to beat WWE or take away WWE's audience or do it. Like, we're not doing anything like, that's a big difference between this and the 90s. Is like, WCW actively said they were trying to put WWF out of business, and this was so not that. We're just trying to, like, build a new audience and exist because we think that there is enough fans out there that would be willing to watch an alternative, if not instead of, then also WWE. And I think so far, considering the ratings have been a pretty smash success and there's people in the buildings every week, I think we proved that audience is out there. And now we just got to keep building them like one fan at a time, one show at a time. They're flipping through, they see Nick Phoenix versus Jackson. They go, what the hell is that? And now they're an AEW fan. Hopefully they keep coming back. There's a whole new generation of wrestling fans that don't even know they're wrestling fans yet. And we want them to grow up on AEW, you know?
It makes sense. What you're saying is what I think a lot of AEW fans know. I don't know if they know that in Connecticut, though, just based on them throwing the kitchen sink and everybody and Hogan and the Iron Sheik and Sergeant Slaughter and everybody else last week's show. They're throwing everybody against AEW, but it's an alternative. It's a band in a smaller venue where you enjoy it, and it's going to grow and grow and continue to be big. I just don't know if they realize that in the WWE. I think that they feel threatened. You probably could feel that, right?
Yeah, but the funny thing is, I think everybody is in agreement that competition makes things better for everybody. I think, obviously, wrestling is hotter than it's been in forever right now. So, I don't know. I mean, it's the greatest thing for everybody that there's, a major alternative now. It's better now the NXT guys are now they're on TV.
Right.
You know? So, like, it's good. It's been good for literally everybody across the board, just hope that it just keeps rolling along, when I was a kid, I think like 98, ECW, WCW, and WWE were all doing good.
Right.
And it was awesome for everyone. So hopefully we get back to that and continue that.
Do you remember the first show? Did you go to the Cincinnati Gardens? What was the first show that you saw?
First show I ever saw live was some kind of WCW house show at US Bank Arena.
Okay.
I never made it to Cincinnati Gardens. I would stand outside there often, but I couldn't afford a ticket. So I never actually got to go to the house shows that came through. I never went to a live Raw or nothing like that. And one of the first live shows I ever went to was the HWA show when I was 16. There was that flea market, and that's where I seen the ad for Les Stass's wrestling camp on the back of the program.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I ended up getting started. But so I remember that, seeing live up close and personal, in second, third row in this little flea market, these giant wrestlers. It was awesome. I used to work at the US Bank Arena. I don't know if it's still called that. I'm not gonna lie, but I used to work there when I was a teenager. I was event staff, you'd be like an usher, or you work the smoking doors, or do security. Great job for high school kids. You get, so you see Cincinnati Cyclones hockey games, the minor league hockey, and work the stage for concerts, stuff like that. But I've worked in that building, so I'd always be walking backstage, thinking man, this is more the wrestling locker room stuff. This wrestling comes through here and stuff. So when I got to work, that was my hometown arena that I could not wait to come wrestle at that arena when we came there with WWE. So every time I go there, it's as super cool for me. That's like my, because I literally grew up in that building. And hopefully we run Cincinnati soon. But I think US Bank Arena, if you're listening, or whatever you call it now, get your shit together, because I think that we're having a little trouble with it. But hoping we can run that building soon.
I hope so. It makes sense because.
As you said, whoever's dealing with the business at US Bank Arena, don't want Jon Moxley in Cincinnati, dude.
Well, they're hearing the show in Cincinnati because this is national, so they'll be hearing it. So,
Tweet those sons of bitches.
So, last thing I got for you, John, and I appreciate your time here in Chicago. What is there something that you want to accomplish in your life, whether it's professional or private, that you really want to be able to look at and say, okay, I want to accomplish this in my life? What is it that something that you really want to be able to look at and say, I got to do this?
I'd say that it's an interesting question. And to me, like, just like the tangible accomplishments of wrestling are kind of like not really real, you know?
Mm-hmm.
As far as like things you list on a resume, you know, to me, the accomplishments are like the works of art that you get to create, whether it be small or big, as long as you love them and they meant something to you and it was an expression of yours. And you can look back on it in 10 years and show it to somebody that, you know, I want to just stack as many of those as I can and have them on my mantle, theoretically, you know, to have. And just kind of, I don't want to waste any time or spend any time in any kind of negative headspace or anything. Like, 'cause just life has been so good to me, and I'm so blessed and fortunate that I get to live my dream. I don't have to have a regular job. I got the most amazing wife in the world. I got everything. I went into WWE with nothing, literally nothing. I left with literally everything, and now it's just about like enjoying it all, but also like continuing to, but not take it for granted, and not, you know, go out and buy fancy cars and fill my house up with a bunch of crap I don't need. It's about, you know, spending time with my family and, you know, with my wife and enjoying wrestling. You know, whether that's, you know, and then for me, I get just as much satisfaction and enjoyment out of having a really cool match on an indie show.
Mm-hmm.
In front of a great crowd, in front of 200 people, as I would being in the main event of a pay-per-view. You know, it's all the same to me. As long as, you know, I like the music that I'm playing. You know?
Yeah. Well, I'm just a fan in the crowd watching you, but you're killing it, and I think that even in a deeper sense, you're able to live the life that you want to lead, John, and I think that's so important, because even in the radio TV business that I'm in, it's about freedom, and I think that every time I see you, I think this guy feels free, and that's, you know how big that is. Everybody can't get that freedom in where they work. And so at least when I see you, I see a guy that feels free and feels like he feels totally different than he did a couple of years ago. And again, we're talking about wrestling, but still, it's still life. It's still business.
Yeah, I think whatever walk of life you're in, whatever, you know, I mean, sometimes you have to, you know, a lot of people have to work a job they don't necessarily love because they got to take care of their family or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's admirable. But ultimately, the goal for everybody should be to live your life for you and your family or whatever as much as possible, and not anybody else or anybody else's idea of, you know, what life's supposed to be. Like, people are born, they go to school, and then go to college, and then get a job, and then they go, okay, and then they're 35 and they're divorced and miserable, and they go, who have I been living my life for, you know? I'm lucky that I never fell into that trap, really, and I don't want to, you know?
Yeah. AllEliteWrestling.com is where you get your tickets. AEW returns to the Sears Center in Hoffman Estates Wednesday, November 27th. And the following week, they'll be in Champaign, the State Farm Arena. That's going to be fun, staying in the state of Illinois. John, it's been my pleasure, man. Thank you so much for coming on with us.
Really trying to put down a fort here in Chicago, man. It's kind of the home of AEW. I wasn't lucky enough to be here for so many times, and the crowds in Chicago are, the greatest crowds, and everybody knows that and loves working in Chicago. And I'm excited to go to the Cedar Center for the first time and kick some ass and be out there in front of the people for the first time in kind of the new mecca of AEW. So this is a new one for me, so I'm excited about it. You don't want to miss it.
Indeed. Sears Center, Hoffman Estates. Get your tickets. AEW Dynamite every Wednesday on TNT. Thank you so much, John. It's been my pleasure.
Oh, thank you, man.
So there it is. Conversation with Jon Moxley of AEW. Don't forget to follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Wrestling TWT, and I'll talk to you next time. Another edition of Tuesday Wrestling Tuesday right here, wherever you download your podcasts, and ESPN 1000.